learners at home, you are welcome to our PVS Agricultural Science class. Our topic for today is on establishment of fish pond. And at the end of the lesson, you all expected to be able to define for me fish pond. 2. State factors or conditions necessary for establishing a fish pond. 3. Explain the features of a standard fish pond. 4. Mention some operations that are being carried out in a fish pond and also how to maintain a fish pond. On how to define a fish pond. We have to define a fish pond as an artificial body of water where fishes can be reared. We all know that fish is an aquatic animal that lives in water. And outside water, fish cannot survive. And because the demand of fish is now too high, that going to the stream, the lake, the rivers to fishes, you might not be able to get, and we need fish. Therefore, we have to create an artificial environment which we call fish pond, a water body that we rear fish on. And we have different types of fish pond. We have the nursery fish pond, the hatchery fish pond, and the rearing fish pond. In the nursery fish pond is where the newly hatched nurseries fishes are being reared till they are able to get to a state level, like for 2 months, so that they can easily be handled. On the hatchery pond is where the eggs of these fishes are being incubated in order for them to hatch. Whereas the rearing fish pond is where we rear fishes till their age of maturity, 6 months. As at this period, we can now fish them for eating. What are the conditions necessary for setting up a fish pond? For you to set up a fish pond, you have to make sure that there is an available source of water. When you have when you are talking about available source of water, fishes are aquatic animals, which we know, and their life depends entirely on water. The water must be free from pollution, color, smell, and taste. The source may be streams, rivers, boreholes, or springs. 2. There must be available of fingerlings. Remember, when we define fingerlings as young fishes. The fingerlings to be used must be the fast growing type. More so, they must have high feed convertibility. Ideally, the fingerlings must be ready to be harvested at about 6 months to 7 months from the time of hatchery. 3. Vegetations of the place. Light vegetation is ideal, preferably grassland. This will be easy to clear, stump, and evacuate before siting a fish pond. 4. The topography of the land. The land must be flat, but must allow the gentle flow of water from the high region to the lower region. The area must not be flooding, but if flooding, then construct embankments and other barriers early enough. Number 5. Soil size and location. The size depends on the availability of fund, the amount you have at hand, the type of fish farming to be established or practiced. Therefore, if commercial fish farming, a large expansion of land is required, the location can be either in the lowland or upland. 5. Availability of feeds. Fishes are usually supplied with supplementary feed especially during the day. These include kitchen products, vegetables, as well as manure and fertilizers, which should be supplied to enhance the growth of planktons. Soil particles. The floor of the area must contain clay soil because this helps to retain water. Also, the soil must be rich in order to survive the fingerlings. Location of market. For peasant farmers, the distance from the pond to the market must be near because the adequacy of storage and or processing units. In commercial farm, the distance between the market and the pond distance does not matter since processing and storage units are always available. Availability of labour. The availability of labour should also be considered. Fish pond should be in a place where labour supply is high since the work is labour intensive, that is clearing, stumping, evacuation of the land, feeding of the fishes, down to harvesting and processing activities. Establishing and construction of fish pond. When you are to construct a fish pond, or before construction of a fish pond, certain operations must be carried out. This include the following: site selection. In site selection, you choose the best land. The place of land must have a perennial stream flow. The soil must be fertile with clay soil in order to prevent high porosity and seepage. If a valley is to be selected, it must be a narrow neck. The site should be a fairly opened area. 2. Clearing and stumping of the site. In clearing and stumping of the site, this helps to remove trash from site. It is the cutting of trees that is around the that is within the site, and also the removal of stumps. Remember when we defined stumps when we did the perennial pre-planting operations, what we mean by stumping. 2. Construction of dam. In your dam construction, the dam should be constructed across the stream. Use good quality building materials in constructing your dams. Use clay soil for dam construction. 3. Construction of core trench. In your construction of your core trench, this involves the removal of soil. Soil can also be evacuated. Position should be at right angle to the dam. Consolidate walls with stones and cement so that it will not collapse easily. Construction of spillways. In your construction of spillways, position at one end of dam. Use wood or fire matched screens in construction of your spillways. Liming. Addition of calcium carbonate powder to the bottom of the pond to seal pores and prevent water losses. 2. In this, reduction of acidity of pond water is what liming helps in carrying out. It also increases the growth of pond lines. Pond fertilization. In pond fertilization, fertilizer encourages the growth of microfloras. It's also by pouring organic fertilizers such as poultry droppings, cow dungs, and inorganic manure such as NPKs and others helps a lot in pond fertilization. The pond fertilization is being carried out 15 days before stocking ponds with fishes so that they can be able to dissolve very well. Pond inoculation. Pond inoculation is the introduction of plankton species into the pond. You are to obtain some water from a plankton rich pond and pour into a newly fertilized pond. Planktons are type of plant that helps in producing oxygen in the water so that the fishes will not lack oxygen. So that the fishes will not lack oxygen. Stock of fish pond. You have to make sure that you stock your fish pond with a good species of fish that grows fast. A good species of fishes that grows fast. In stocking, this is the introduction of fish into the fish pond. It also means the number of a particular species of fish or fish pond can accommodate at a time. If only one species of fish is stocked, this is called monoculture, while more than one species is known as polyculture. The fish must have the same growth and of living habits. Even if you are stocking two different fishes, their fish growth must be the same and they must have the same living habits. When we are talking about stocking of fish, we have different species of fish to be stocked in a fish pond, such as our tilapia, our catfish, and many others. Features of establishing a fishing pond. Features of establishing a fishing pond. In features of establishing a fish pond, when you look at the diagram below, you see there where we have our spillway, our water outlet, water inlet, and many others. Then in features of establishing a fish pond, there we have 1. Dam. There we have cartridge, monk, board, distribution of channels, screen, spillway, dam slopes. Note: dam, cartridge, spillway, etc. has been discussed under the operations carried out before establishing a fish pond. No need of going to it now. Let's go further to the ones we have not discussed, such as the distribution of channels. Distribution of channels helps to introduce water into the pond. Water is being distributed to all the sections of the pond until it gets to the particular volume. Fertilizers can also be mixed with the water and distributed together. The monk. In monking, it regulates water level automatically. It helps to discharge water from both the surface and the bottom. Monk has the vertical lower and horizontal culverts or pipes made of concrete. In monks, there are 2 pairs provided which have clay materials in between in order to check leakages. Board. These are fitted at the center or middle of slabs at the gates. They are made up of desirable wood. They regulate the flow of water. They also hold water inside the pond. The screen. This helps to prevent the entry of undesirable species of fish into the pond. It helps to prevent the entry of many other aquatic animals into the fish, so that it can only be their fish, that is the one that you put in the pond, that will remain. They also help to regulate the movement out of the pond. Dam slope. This helps to regulate water movement into and out of the pond. It also ensures availability of water in the pond, and is constructed at the beginning and end of the pond. Main ten ance of fish pond. Fish supplies from the pond should be the paramount interest of a farmer. Therefore, he will do anything humanly possible to stop anything that will bring sadness to him. Hence, he must carry out some or all the following activities in maintaining the fish pond. Supplementary feeding. In supplementary feeding, especially in the commercial intensive farm, the fish should be rich in the feeds given to them should be rich in vitamins, proteins, carbohydrates, and other fish food substances. Weeding. Weeds tend to suffocate the fishes, pollute the water, and introduce pests and diseases to the fishes. They should be removed regularly, either by allowing animals to graze on it, or by spraying certain herbicides like sodium arsenate or sodium chlorate. Since herbicides are poisonous, they should be applied before stocking of fish. Silt removal. Silt causes pollution, leads to dirtiness of the pond, and reduces migration of fishes, so it should be removed early enough from the pond. Air supply. In order for air to circulate freely, the pond should not be overstocked. Weeds should be removed. Manures and fertilizers should not be applied in excess. Water supply. Water supply must be adequate, and the water should be slightly acidic and slightly alkaline, with at least pH level of 5 to 9 pH level, and surface temperature should be between 21 degrees and 32 degrees centigrade. Pests and diseases. They must be controlled by maintaining adequate stocking and application of necessary drugs like marachite green, copper sulfate, and many others. Manures and fertilizers. They are essential in order to encourage the growth of plankton in the pond, thereby making food available to the fish. Regular harvesting. Fish normally matures as from 6 to 7 months, so they should be harvested in order to avoid overcrowding. Disease outbreak and starvation. Using any recommended harvesting method listed, that we are going to list in our next class. Control of predators. Predators like snakes, rats, birds should be prevented from entering the pond. You can achieve this by using nets to cover the surface of the pond. You can achieve this by using nets to cover the surface of the pond. Evaluation. After all we have done today, I expect you to describe 5 factors required to establish a fish pond. Factors required in fish pond establishment, such as availability of water, availability of fingerlings, topography, size of and location of this site, soil, particles. Then the best soil for fish pond is clay soil. Remember that clay soil helps to retain water. Then what do we mean by monoculture and polyculture? Here in monoculture and polyculture, we are talking about fish stocking. Remember that we say when you stock only one species of fish in the water is called monoculture. In the pond is called monoculture. And when you stock 2 different or 3 different species of fish that have the same habitat and the same growing rate is what we call polyculture. Your assignment for the week: state and explain 5 conditions which must be avoided in setting of fish pond. Thank you and see you in our next class.